Ladies and gentlemen,
listen up. It's time for a DIY highlight touch-up. I do this every other month because I can. So I was showing you the before, and these are the after results. And I basically do this faster and easier than I have ever done before because I've been doing this at home for years. And now that I have this system down, I wanted to share it with you all. So if you're interested, keep on watching. Hi, it's Paulina. I'm a nurse who's into all things beauty, especially hair. Today's a hair video. And I'm also into paranormal things. Today's not a paranormal video, but I have not done my highlights in 2 months. Last month, I will try to link the video down below. Last month, I just did a base bump. So it's just like lightening my growth, 2 shades with permanent dye. But this time we're gonna do highlights. Highlights and a root smudge. So I've been doing this at home for years, maintaining my blonde hair at home. And I have basically kind of whittled it down to the laziest, fastest, easiest possible method of maintaining the highlights. All I care about is around my face, the quote money pieces, my short bangs, I mean they're not bangs, but you know, face framing layers. And then I basically part my hair down the middle most of the time. It's rare when I part it on the side. So I do a few foils down the middle. I used to be a lot more blonde and I used to do a lot more foils, but now I kind of let a lot of my hair go dark. A lot of my hair is dark actually, and I don't mind because it creates contrast. There's like ribbons of dark, ribbons of light going through, and it all kind of blends, and it helps me to just do less to my hair while still looking kind of blonde. So yeah, if you're interested in watching how I do it, just keep on watching. So first, let me show you a trick I learned. So I'm using these Framar foils. I've used food service foils before. It's fine. The nice thing about these is they come pre-folded, and it's very helpful when you're foiling. So let me just show you what I do. They're kind of folded in half. They're meant to be used like this, but this really only works on my short layers now if I were to highlight from root to tip. But we're not highlighting root to tip. So the part that's already folded, I put it at the edge of the desk. And you just sort of pull, and it neatly cuts it in half. So I have a stack that's the folded side, and then the other stack that's going to be without that little folded tab. So I'm just going to keep doing this. Sometimes I find that if I do 2 at a time, it's a little easier and faster. So you just line up 2, and then you place it over the edge of the desk, hold on to it, and you gently pull. There you go, and I did 2 at the same time. I'm just gonna keep going. We don't need that many, but this is something I learned watching a professional hairstylist on YouTube probably like 10-15 years ago. Okay, something I forgot to show you is this mirror that hangs over the door. And then these 3 pieces, you can fold them in or out. And basically you can see the back of your head. So when I used to do a lot of root touch-ups on the back of my head, I would use this mirror. It's very helpful. Basically, it's a cross from the main mirror. And I do use it still time to time, especially when I'm going to be highlighting the back of my head. I'll be using it, but not today. So let me set you down. All right, so first things first, you basically section out your hair. So I like to do that first. I basically just part down the middle. It's kind of tangled. Okay. And then I make sure I detangle carefully from the ends up. I do this on both sides. It's a lot easier when your hair is clean and detangled. I know a lot of people say that you should wait until your hair is dirty to dye it, but I've noticed that I don't really get a good, easy, clean lift when I do that. So now I kind of like to dye my hair on second day hair. So I washed it last night. It's nice and clean, but not first day hair. So I'm not going to be dyeing all of my hair, just around my face. So I'm going to tie back the hair that's not going to get dyed or washed today. I don't wash all of my hair either. I basically only wash the parts that gets dyed at the top of my head and around my face. So that's part of the reason why we're detangling right now. Okay, it's all detangled. So after I detangle, I basically get my cutting comb. It helps me to create better, more precise parts. I see where the arch of my eyebrow is right there. And I just kind of section down a line from where my arch of my eyebrow is. And then this hair, I sort of twist it away and use a little clip. And can you see? Yeah, this little clip to sort of clip it. And then I do the other side. So I look to see where the arch of this eyebrow is. And then I make a clean part that way. This one was harder to do. Okay, there we go. Okay, same thing. Twist this hair out of the way. What the heck? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so I got my mohawk section. And then from there, I need to make a part I can use the end of a rat tail comb. And I make a clean horizontal part. And you make sure it's even. And that's the hair we're going to be using to section. So let me tie the rest of my hair back in a low bun. Okay, so I'm just checking to make sure it's even. It's like a similar amount of hair on both sides. So this is the hair that's going to get highlighted. And I'm just twisting it out of the way for now. Clip it. And then you're going to be doing a little bit on each side. So just get these diagonal sections around your face. Like that much hair. Yeah, maybe one more. Okay. Yeah, so like that much hair. And then on the other side too. Make sure it matches. I need more hair from this side. Okay. All right, so the rest of this hair is not going to get dyed at all today. Next time I do more of the bottom section or the length or the tips, the very ends, I will record it again. But today it's just going to be a fast, easy touch up around the face. So putting it in a bun and just clipping it out of the way. Okay, all of this hair right here is not going to get dyed or washed today. This is what's going to get highlighted. This mohawk section and these side pieces. So now let's mix the product. I use Schwarzkopf Blondme, and I just bought whatever developer was on sale. So I do a little bit of 40 and a lot of 7. I would say it's maybe 3 parts 7 and 1 part 40, thereabouts. I'll show you. So we're not really doing a lot of highlights, but I like to make sure I have a decent amount. I might use this much, that much powder lightener. Let's just do a tiny bit more, maybe that much more, just so you have enough product that you don't have to remix. Okay. And then I said, oh, I'll do the 40 volume last. So we're gonna do it's mostly the 7 volume, and then this is the 40 volume. Oh, that's good, I think. Now we mix. All right, so you want the consistency of like Greek yogurt. So once it's mixed, I add a little bit of Olaplex. So the Olaplex #1, like a few drops really. You don't need that much because it's such a small amount. Like literally a few drops. Okay, so the Olaplex you add after you mix the bleach. Okay, we're ready. All right. So normally I use a weaving comb, but today I might try Air Touch. So let's see. I twist these two side pieces out of the way because I do that last. I like to work from the back to the front, and I always make sure I have these clips to hold the foils in place. Okay, so I'm going to use the fine tooth weaving comb to do a very skinny slice. Let's see. I think that's too thick, so let's do a skinnier one. There we go. That's good. So let me see what it looks like if I tried the Air Touch. Air Touch, I don't know how to do it. Let's just use the foiling comb. So okay. I didn't like how that worked. Let's do it again. I'm using the skinny teasing comb that does fine weaves. You push the hair down and it'll split it into two. Then you grab the hair down the middle and it instantly weaves it out for you. I don't like that one. Let's do a thicker weaving comb. Let's do this one. I basically do my hair differently, a little bit differently every time I highlight. So from now on, I'll just always record it and upload it here on YouTube for you guys to watch. But as you can see, It's never super easy every time because I'm not a professional. All right, there we go. And there's always a different circumstance each time you do it. It's never always the same. So I kind of look at how it split the hair and I'm visualizing it. I think it'll be better if I highlight this, so I hold this in my mouth. I do that a lot. So basically when I section out the hair to keep things neat and organized, I'm always putting it in my mouth. Ha ha ha. I forgot to take out the balayage board. That's what I have right now. I have a couple different ones, but this is the one I use for my face frame highlights. And I basically grab the piece of foil that has the fold and I fold it over the edge of the balayage board. As you can see, I kind of struggle with it. But I only do a small section at a time if I ever do highlights. I never ever do like my whole head. There's no way. I would basically fry off hair by the time I get to the other part if I were to try to do that. So I only do a small section for that day, and if I need to highlight more, I'll do it on a different day when I need to wash it again. And I counted how many foils I did this time around, and it was only 10. 10 foils total, meaning each 10 sections of hair in a foil. I don't fold the foils, I just overlap it. I just sandwich them, which I find to be easier and faster than trying to fold it. So you have to look in the other mirror on the side to kind of see what I'm doing a little bit better. As I keep recording these, I'll try to find better camera angles so you can more clearly see what I'm doing. But what happened here is I decided that section of hair was too dark. I just realized that I would have had to paint basically the entire section all the way down to the ends with bleach, and my foils are not long enough to do that. I would have had to use the full length of foils, and I just didn't want to add too much brightness either. I like having a lot of depth in between my highlights now. I put in less foils because I leave a lot of it dark. It helps it blend better when my roots grow in. Something that I realized I forgot to mention is it's very important to keep your hair evenly spread out so you can saturate it better with the bleach. Make sure you pull your hair tight against that foiling board. And when you paint on the bleach, don't start right at the roots. You do not want to do that because the bleach will swell with the warmth and then you'll get bleeding spots, which I've had from time to time. So you just start painting the bleach on maybe half an inch away from the roots, and then you gradually feather it down gently to the roots, but using less product near the roots, if that makes sense. And I make sure I fully saturate that very thin section of hair so I can get the best lift possible. Something I learned after many years of doing highlights is how well you lift with the bleach the first time around is everything. Whew, okay, so we did that hair. Might do tip out later. We'll see. So, took forever to decide. But we're gonna take a fat chunk. And this hair, we're not gonna touch. Okay. And then another thin slice. And this hair we're gonna weave. So I basically lay that thin slice of hair on the comb and I pull it down. So half of it goes into this top part of the teeth and the other parts go deep further down, if that makes sense. And then you split that in half. So essentially, it just speeds up the weaving for me, and it makes it more even, I noticed. Later in this video, you'll see that I realized I should have put the foil on the board before I weaved out the hair. So I'm struggling here. Right now, I'm rinsing off some bleach that got on the board because I don't want that to accidentally get onto hair I don't want to highlight. If that were to happen, since it's not insulated in foils, it would most likely bleach to a brassy color and not to that light inside of the banana yellow color that you're going for. All right, so right away, I kind of see that this hair is a little too dark all the way down. So I just kind of like pick it out, take it out. Pull it nice and tight. And as you can see, I'm laying on the bleach about ½ an inch away from the roots. And then I feather it down gently towards the roots because I don't want the bleach to swell and cause like leopard print bleed marks that I'm gonna have to fix again later. This time around, that didn't happen, thank goodness. I think it's because it's not summer yet. I usually have that problem more when the weather's warmer. Yeah, I get better lift and faster lift, but also I usually get more bleed marks I have to fix. If and when that happens again in the future, I will film how I fix those too. Because, you know, every time I do this, it's a little bit different. And I use those metal duckbill clips to keep everything neat and in place. Something I wanted to point out too is when I was foiling the back of my head, I actually took large sections of hair that I left out that I did not highlight. And the closer I get to the front of my face, I leave out less dark pieces. Especially when it goes to my hairline, I will do a lot more highlights closer together. And I kind of go by the length of the hair too, because I have face frame layers. When it gets to the shortest pieces in the front, usually most of that gets highlighted because I like that piece around my face to be bright and blonde. And naturally, the hair around our face is finer in texture, so it lightens more easily. Also, it's the hair that the sun hits more, so naturally, over time, as your hair gets longer and as you go outside, you'll see people do have, especially children, they have natural highlights around their face where the sun hits it. And something else too is I like having these face framing layers because I do trim them every month. So number one, they're shorter and healthier hairs. Two, I trim them often. And so three, I don't really have to worry so much about, you know, keeping it from being damaged and making it healthy and, you know, growing it out. So it's totally fine that this is the hair that I highlight more often and more in general, if that makes sense. Another reason why I love doing these highlights down my center part on top of my head and around my face is because that's basically where grease will show, like if your hair hasn't been washed in a couple days. But the dryness from bleaching your hair blonde really hides greasy hair very well. Also, it is more conducive to holding a style if you have straight, fine hair like me. So now we're at the front pieces. We don't take huge chunks to leave out to keep dark. We're just doing back-to-back slices now until we finished with all the hair. I noticed that when my hair is blonde, I can get away with washing it less, but it also holds a curl a lot better. And the main reason why I like having blonde around my face and on top of my head is it creates a lot of volume for me. Volume's something that I always want because I have hair that's opposite, which is fine and straight. So that's basically why I like doing these highlights so often. It's because it gives me that volume. Going back to the importance of lifting your hair correctly the first time, that's literally everything, because your hair needs to be light enough to tone. If you don't lift your hair enough, it basically will not tone. And when you're trying to fight the orange tones and you just fix it, it will probably end up looking light brown, which is never the goal to begin with if you're trying to have blonde hair or blonde highlights. And when your hair is not lightened enough and the toner keeps coming out, you're always frustrated, just fighting the brass all the time. So for me, I like having hair that's kind of like a pale yellow from the raw lift of the bleach, because then that way I don't really have to tone the ends actually. I just rely on purple shampoo by Finola, and I like their purple hair mask as well. I've tried other brands that work really well too, and that's also how I'm able to more easily maintain my blonde, is I'm not always fighting the brass anymore, because the raw lift on its own is pretty. And that's another thing. Toners need a developer in order for it to work. And yes, there are 20 volume developers, 10 volume developers, and even lower than 10, like 7. But the thing is, these developers are hydrogen peroxide based, and how it works is it lifts your cuticle so that the artificial color can deposit into the hair shaft. So each time you're using these toners that has a developer to work, you're lifting the cuticle. And the more you do that, the more you cause damage, and the more porous your hair becomes and the more delicate it becomes. And yeah, so that's not really something that fine hair can withstand over time. Also, it will prevent you from growing out your hair long. So now I just rely on the lift I get from the bleach, and I just work with it by using purple shampoo or some kind of depositing conditioning hair mask with color in it. And I don't even overdo that either, because you don't want color buildup. Okay. So what I'm really trying to say is I only really use toner on the roots now. I use it to do like a root tap or shadow root. I don't really use toner on the length of my hair anymore, which is like a win-win all around, because it keeps my length healthy. It saves me a lot of time,
and it saves me money on product. So I just wanted to kind of go over some key things that you should be aware of that makes lightening your hair effective. You need to do thin sections of hair. You need to saturate those sections with enough product, of course, without risking bleed marks. So don't put too much towards the roots. And you need to sandwich them in the foils because that does two things. It keeps the product still from drying out. It keeps the product moist. So when the bleach is not dried out and it's still in that wet form, that's when it's still working. And then the heat accelerates the lightening process.
All right, so now we're just gonna do the sides.
Yeah, two mistakes I used to make is I used to not use foils because it was very intimidating for me to do. And when I would apply the bleach onto hair that was, too thick of a section, it wouldn't saturate each strand completely. So I would get tons of uneven lift, which was a nightmare to try to fix. And I wouldn't leave the bleach on long enough because I was always scared of damage. And I would get orange hair. Then I would try to tone it, and then I would get brown hair. And then the toner will come out, and I would have orange hair that I'm constantly chasing to fight, which was a battle that I was going through for years until I finally realized when I went to a professional and I was watching what they were doing, and I realized it's all about having a good lift the first time around. Of course, without going overboard. Because if you bleach past that pale yellow color and it starts to turn white, then you're at the point of no return. You basically bleached your hair to death and caused damage that you really can't do much about except maybe cut off as much as you can and baby it as much as you can while you grow it out. And it limits you on how much you can dye it from there on out until that hair is grown out. And hair that's been dyed before won't lift the same as hair that's virgin, and it won't lift the same as hair that has been bleached before. And that also depends on if that hair that was previously bleached has been toned or has been dyed a darker color. It just depends. So once you make the decision to go blonde, it's really best to stay blonde. And any shifts in color you do, don't do it with a permanent color. Just so that you can keep maintaining the clean blonde that you are going for. Sometimes, like in my case, my hair is, like I keep saying it, fine and delicate. So if I were to, say, dye it a dark red or burgundy or dark brown, I might not be able to get a clean, even lift to get a light blonde again after that. So it may be that I can get a lot of the darkness out, but I'll be left with so much warmth that I would have to just work with it and be a strawberry blonde or copper at the lightest, which I have had to do before in the past. I'm just saying from experience. I'm kind of enjoying doing a little bit of editing and not too much, and just rambling about my little, I don't know if they're even words of wisdom or just, things I learned from doing my own hair for so long. But if it's kind of monotonous or you guys don't like to see the entire process and almost real time, let me know in the comments down below, and I could just do like little clips or speed it up or edit it a lot more so the video is not so long. But personally, when I watch these, I really love watching the entire thing from beginning to end and in real time, because I don't know, just like the monotonous repetition of it really kind of sinks into my brain more, and I kind of learn better that way, if that makes sense. Something I realized I didn't do is I didn't show me washing it out, because I don't wash my whole head since this is second day hair. I'm literally only washing or rinsing out the hair that was colored. If you want to see that next time, let me know also. Actually, I might just do that. Maybe next time I'll try showing all of it, including the rinsing and the Olaplex #2, the purple shampoo, and maybe even the blow dry. I'm not sure. Let me know if you want me to do all of that recorded also, if you want to see it as well. So here I'm coming down to my last 2 foils. Down the middle I've done 6, and then I have 2 on that other side. I'm doing the last 2 here. Processing time kind of depends on the thickness and density of your hair, any color buildup that may be on your hair, the temperature where you're at. It will take longer if it's cold and shorter time if it's warm. In the summer, sometimes I'll just go out in the backyard and it'll process a lot faster and I can just rinse it out sooner. But the important thing is that you keep an eye on it and check your foils. You might need to go back in and wipe some off with a clean, damp towel, or reapply more bleach where you see it's not lifting. For some reason, sometimes some foils will lift faster and better, and other foils you'll just get frustrated because it's not lifting and it's darker and more orange. So when that happens, you just reapply more bleach in that foil and maybe apply some heat only to that foil. Another thing to keep in mind is I'm only doing 10 foils, like very small section of my head, so I mixed a little bit of bleach, but enough that I have some left over. If you were to go to a salon, you'll see that professionals will mix small batches of bleach at a time. And the trick that they do usually is they'll use a lower volume developer at first, and then as they mix new fresh batches of bleach, they will increase the volume developer so that it will kind of process more or less around the same time. Because the lower the volume developer is, the more gentle the lift and the longer it takes to lift the hair. And the higher the volume developer, like a 30 or a 40, it will lift faster. But I noticed that your hair lifts better if you use a lower volume developer and you're more patient. So if you use like a 20 volume or 15 volume or 10 volume even, and you just kind of watch it carefully and you're patient and you let it sit and develop a little longer, you get a better, clean, even lift. And I don't know, it's just more even, and sometimes it can actually make your hair lighter using a lower volume developer and just processing it for a little bit longer time. In the past, I've used a 30 or 40 volume developer because I thought, oh, my hair is so dark, it needs it to get it blonde. But I had issues with it because You have to be very fast, which obviously, as you can see, I am not. I'm not fast. And then like it just works fast and also stops working fast. And that's all due to the hydrogen peroxide. So an interesting fact about hydrogen peroxide is you'll notice that it's always stored in an airtight container that's opaque, meaning you can't see through the container. Because when it's exposed to light, it releases the bubbles. And then once the oxygen is released, it's no longer hydrogen peroxide, it's just water at that point. So the release of those bubbles is basically what's helping lift your cuticles.
All right, so it's been about, I'd say 30 minutes. It's really important to check the lift. Sometimes you can add more bleach. It's basically like the inside of a banana yellow, so I'd say it looks pretty ready. At this point too, I like to drag the bleach down. Okay, so this is the hair that I did last, so it would probably have the least amount of lift. So let's check. It's not that bad, but you can see it's way more orange. Way more orange than the other hair. So I drag the bleach down, check the other sections, and what I'm going to do is gently hit these foils with a hairdryer. Yeah. Anytime you get bleach on your hands, because I'm not wearing gloves right now, rinse it right away. Let's take a look at these foils. Oh, that looks good. I don't need to put any more bleach on that. Alright, so just these foils on the side of my head. I'm going to hit it with some heat. They're warm, so I'm going to let it cool down. Give it another minute and then I'll check the foil again. Okay, so another thing that I am thinking about doing is seeing if I need to hit the ends with the bleach.
I don't always do this every time.
So that looks good to me. Let's see, I did one. So instead of folding the foils, I sandwiched the foils. I think that looks good too. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. 6. See, and then this I could have done with a little more bleach. So at this time, I'm just gonna drag it down.
This method really only works on hair that's been already bleached, I noticed.
So,
If I were to do this on the bottom part of my hair that's dark, I would end up with the most horrendous orange hair. So this is because that the length of this section right here has been highlighted before. It's just gotten darker with buildup. And I'm just lifting through that to make it lighter. Yeah, so then I'm not going to have to worry about this hair turning orange. It's just going to gently lift it about a shade or two, which is what I want.
now let's check this foil. I'm just kind of blending it with my fingers. And I'm going to tone too, so.
Sorry, I'm not used to the camera being there.
Like right there, you need to kind of blend it. And then right there, you need to kind of blend it. So I'm gonna just let it sit for like a minute and rinse it out, and then put Olaplex number 2 and let it sit for 10 minutes. Then wash with purple shampoo, and then we'll tap the roots. Okay. I washed it out, the Olaplex number 2, and I used the Finola No Yellow shampoo. So you can see my hands are stained. I'm spraying some Kenra Platinum Blow Dry Spray and detangling. So I want to see where we're at, and I'm most likely going to do a root tap. Okay. So here we go. Can you see the highlights? I think I am going to do a root tap. It's going to blend it better. So let's pick the color. Let me see if you can see. Here it is. I think I'm going to do a little drop of 8GI. A good amount of 6T, and a little bit of 5N. I think that's probably good. Alright, so I cleaned out the bowl. We're gonna mix. So it's gonna be mostly 6T. Did it focus? Yeah, mostly 6T. We don't need that much. And then we're gonna do a little bit of 5N. Like less than half of the 6T. Yep. Just a little splash. And probably the same amount of 8GI as I did the 5N. Just a little splash. Yep. Alright. Then we're going to use our processing solution. I like the thicker one. Okay. So it's kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio of developer to color. I'm just going to blend this. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm not used to doing my highlights and filming because it's not exactly the easiest thing to do, since I never went to school for this and I don't do it on other people. I just do it on my own self. Each time I do it, it's a little bit of a struggle, not gonna lie, but that's why I only do small sections at a time. And yeah. Alright, so let me section up the hair. I'm sectioning the hair. Okay. And I tap the roots. Just like the first inch is all I need to do. I am not putting this all over. So I'm just blending it down. And remember, we didn't weave a lot of highlights either. We just did a few, and we took out huge chunks of hair that we just left dark. And then I lightly feather the front. So when it comes to the front, I don't put on as much product and I don't drag it down as far. So instead of 1 inch, I would say 1/2 inch. Okay. Don't forget the sides. The sides too, I don't put on too much. And then as far as processing goes, I'd say around 7 minutes. All right, so 7 minutes. I'm gonna wait 7 minutes and then wash it out with purple shampoo again, Finola No Yellow.
That's it. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you learned a thing or two. And if you like these kinds of videos, I would love it if you subscribed, like, and share, and see you next time. Love you. Bye.